Russia and Saudi Arabia both conspire to manipulate the price of natural gas and oil, respectively, internationally. More so, natural gas, Russia, and oil, Saudi Arabia. But they do the same thing. They both have like the heavy hands in the energy sector. If you've wondered, by the way, one of the reason why Joe Biden has approved so many fracking permits, it's because the United States is trying to not rely on either Saudi Arabia or Russia right now. A lot of Saudi Arabia and Russia's energy exports are going towards development in India and in China, which are huge markets for both at the moment. And America is trying to do the self-sustainability thing, which I agree with, but we should be doing it with green energy and not with like fracking or whatever. Obviously, we're still going to need some measure of oil because we have like, cars, and we need petroleum to manufacture plastic and blah blah. But like, the oil and like the energy independence thing is like a worthwhile goal to pursue, largely because the big energy exporters are like two hellholes. We don't want to like promote them. Aren't the Saudis basically a U.S. puppet / ally? No, 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 no. We're their bitch. It's the other way around. For decades, we've relied on them for their exports, and because if we anger them, then the price of oil goes up. And the last time that really happened, it was in the 70s, and it caused a crisis. The other way around, we're like, yeah. It's not probably Saudi Arabia openly, publicly partnered with Russia during the Ukrainian invasion. Yeah, because they're both, yeah. The two oil-producing countries have extended their partnership even as the U.S. and Europe shot to punish and isolate Russia for invading Ukraine. Yeah, Saudi Arabia pumps up Russia because they both like act towards a shared interest in the energy exporters. If you take a look at oil production, we are the top. We are the #1 oil producers. With what is this? 12 million barrels a day, and then there's Saudi Arabia, and then there's Russia. But Saudi Arabia is also the head of OPEC, and functionally the head of OPEC. And OPEC altogether produces way more oil than we do. That's 10.5 million for Saudi Arabia, Iraq 4.5 million, the UAE 3.5, Iran 3.3. But yeah, individually it may be us, but like OPEC broadly controls oil. And Russia. Russia's right up here. Outside the top 3, the next biggest is Canada at 4.5. Russia is in OPEC plus. Do they just full on have an expanded? Yeah, looks like it. OPEC plus. Yeah, DLC. Here we go. OPEC members and OPEC plus members. 28.7 million barrels a day and 16.5 million barrels a day. And it's the axis of evil. Well, not really. I mean, Saudi Arabia and Russia are terrible. Mexico's fine, We produce a lot of oil, but not altogether. They produce more than 50% of all of the oil. Countries ranked by natural gas production. Wow, look at that, guys. You'll never guess who's on top here, too. The United States. By far the largest producer of natural gas in the world, represents nearly a quarter of total natural gas production. And then after that is Russia, about 60 or 70% of how much we produce. And the next is Iran at like a third of what Russia produces. So it really is just Russia and the United States in this particular venue. So much of like international relations comes down to oil production and distribution. And we could literally break free of all of this with green energy. You guys have no idea how big of a difference this would make. Not only would this free America and Western Europe from depending on like totalitarian dictatorships for our energy needs, not only would it mean that we would be saving the environment, but also it would mean that we could leverage a new world order. Like, the only reason so many dictators around the world are able to stay in power is because they have partnerships with Western governments or other like larger countries that allow them to use their country as like a vehicle for energy production for the benefit of like foreign capital. But all of that would change. We would now be the real exporters of energy because we would be building the solar panels. We would be building the wind farms. We would be building the energy plants. It would be us. And that's not a form of wealth extraction because once you have those systems, they stay there. That's just an investment. And what this would mean is that Saudi Arabia and Russia would just not be... Guys, do you know what Russia's economy would be if it wasn't for energy exports? It would be $1. $1. That is the worth of the Russian economy without energy production. $1. Literally? Yes, literally. Why do we rely on Saudis for oil if most of our oil usage is from the oil we produce domestically? That's the thing, Quoteth. We don't anymore. For decades and decades, we have largely relied on Saudi Arabia. But, hold on. U.S. oil production per year. We can see a significant uptick. There we go. Look at that. This dip right here is because of COVID. No one was driving cars around, so the production diminished. Since 1910, we have nearly tripled the amount of oil we're producing. Well, you might be wondering, why? A lot of this has to do with our declining faith in Russia and in Saudi Arabia as managers of our energy. This is why we've been ramping up fracking so much, and the development of fracking tech has allowed for us to do this as well. We now produce most of our own. Did I say 1910? 2010. We now produce most of our own oil, natural gas as well. But we need to help other countries out of this, because you know what countries have basically no domestic energy production? Western Europe. The UK, France, Germany, Spain, Poland, Italy, whatever, they do not have anywhere near... They don't have an Alaska. They don't have an Alaska. They don't have a Texas. Plenty of countries don't. So they're kind of locked in. This is why there was so much drama at the beginning of the Ukraine war. With Western European countries being like, I know Russia's bad, but Nord Stream, we need our natural gas. We need our gas. We're gassy boys. We need gas. Yeah, Germany has coal, but that doesn't do everything, Yeah, Germany closing their nuclear power plants as well. Yeah. Now they cut off Russia and made deals with Arabia. Yeah, well, because and Russia and Arabia are part of to an extent the same trade bloc. So also they didn't want to cut ties with Russia. They're very energy dependent. Do you guys remember the rising cost of energy in the UK? Remember how there was a lot of news about people paying like £800 for a month of energy because like it was like so expensive to produce over there because they had lost a lot of their exports from Russia. A huge amount of geopolitics is just securing energy production, and all of this could be solved with natural energy or renewable energy. Literally all of it. Like that would single-handedly break us free. Yeah, exactly, Quoteth. It's not enough that we're energy independent. We need everyone. We need democracies in general to be energy independent. Then we want to sell energy independence to other countries. Frankly, I think the world will be a better place when people aren't desperately reliant on like 2 or 3 totalitarian dictatorships, for their energy needs. I think it would be better if we weren't doing that. Yeah, we would still need to do mineral resources. Yeah. Yeah, Econoboy, but a significant portion of it. If oil was no longer needed, if oil and natural gas were no longer needed for energy purposes, and the grid was fully powered by renewable energy, the domestic production that the United States has of oil and natural gas would be sufficient to manage the non-power grid needs of the Western world on its own. The mineral needs would reduce, but would still exist, and there will always be some degree of international interdependence when it comes to trade. But god damn, man, we gotta stop relying so much on the Saudis. Does anyone talk about geothermal energy, Vosh? Geothermal energy is great. It's literally infinite. Well, it's not literally infinite, but it's basically infinite energy. But you gotta dig pretty deep, I don't know if I've ever seen any, like, proof of concept for... Because normally you have to dig so far down that the maintenance costs would be far more than it's worth. You have to get near like a volcano or some shit. I don't know. Maybe like when Hawaii breaks free and becomes some kind of like independent, anti-tourist radicalized island state, they can start, I don't know, building geothermal reactors on top of their volcanoes and become like Wakanda. I know I talk about this a lot, but I do like pointing out that the state of Washington has a ridiculous amount of its energy needs met by hydroelectric power. 2/3 of the power grid energy generation in the state of Washington is met by hydropower, with all of the turbines and the many, many rivers and dams and tributaries and what have you. And then wind is still 9%. And solar is not much, because, you know, it's cloudy up here pretty often. Though we do have a nuclear plant or two, I think. Does renewable energy produce more energy than oil and gas? Well, that's kind of a nonsensical question. It produces as much as you burn or use, right? But solar energy, wind energy, they're infinite. I mean, they're renewable. If the question is like, would a comparable monetary investment in, say, solar panels produce as much energy as the existing investment in oil or gas or coal or whatever? And the answer to that is yes. At the current level of development that we have for solar panels, you know, if we were to invest in it as we did with coal or oil or fracking or whatever else, yes, it is a solvable problem. It can be done. It can be done. Nuclear blows solar out of the water. It's not a contest. We can do all of it. Speaking of renewables, the U.S. is building a massive solar and wind farm in New Mexico. This $10 billion transmission line will carry more energy than the Hoover Dam. The Hoover Dam produces a lot of energy. Can I get pictures? My brain is small. I don't like reading words. The SunZia transmission project. Okay, just give me like a shiny 3D render that somebody paid some guy. So is this all wind? Wind farms, then it's running the line between Arizona and New Mexico. That's why we need a proletarian state, Econoboy. Interesting. Well, hopefully it comes about. Transporting more than 3.5 gigawatts of new wind power to 3 million people in the West. Okay, hold on. How much is a gigawatt? I know, but I don't have like a good, I know it's 1 billion watts, but like how many houses would power more than 10 million light bulbs or one fictional flux capacitor and a time-traveling DeLorean? Thank you. Okay, how about energy needs of Los Angeles, CA. I don't know why I added CA there. There's only one LA that anyone cares about. Approximately 22,000 gigawatt hours per year. So, gigawatt hours. How do you convert gigawatt hours to gigawatts? What is that? So would that mean every hour of it supplying the gigawatts would be add time, divide by hour? So how many hours there are in a year? So 3.5 times 24 times 365. Okay. 3.5 times 24 times 365. Okay. That's 30.6 gigawatts? 3.5 gigawatts times 24 times 365 is 30.6 gigawatts. Is that correct? Am I correct on that? That's not how it works, no? Okay. Gigawatt energy. Gigawatt hour is energy. Gigawatt is power. What? Uses 1 gig. I know that a gigawatt hour is 1 gigawatt over an hour. Okay, hold on. This is just the transmission. What is the production? Give me gigawatt hours. Give me hours. I just want to know how much energy it is. Yeah, Econoboy, that's fancy pants stuff. I'm just trying to get the base. You likely won't get that information. Okay, hold on. Energy production of Hoover Dam in megawatt hours, please. Average yearly generation of 4.5 billion kilowatt hours. Okay. Okay, we have a number. So 4.5 billion kilowatt hours is 4.5 million megawatt hours. And 4.5 million megawatt hours is 4,500 gigawatt hours, correct? So that would mean that the Hoover Dam produces per year, on average, about 1/4 of the energy consumption of the of Los Angeles. That's actually pretty impressive. That one single dam could account for 1/4 of Los Angeles? That's like an insane. Well, wait, is this the city of Los Angeles or is this the county of Los Angeles? Because those two, this is the city of Los Angeles, not the county of Los Angeles. Three Georges Dam is like 10 times, right? Yeah, it's pretty big. It's not as much as you would think. Well, it's 1/4 of the city of Los Angeles. That's something. It's not nothing. Also, the Hoover Dam looks really cool. I can't believe they made Fallout New Vegas in real life. That's crazy. Nah, transcendental. It's an overstated issue. It's not that bad. solid a lot of concrete. We do tend to use concrete for this. Another reason why solar energy is so much preferable to hydroelectric in a lot of cases, though sometimes building dams is actually good for the environment, depending on certain circumstances, or if you want a reservoir for water use. You know, there are circumstances where it can be okay, though not necessarily the Hoover Dam. But, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, the maintenance, you know, dams are just very potentially destructive. I'm pretty sure the Hoover Dam destroying would kill 8 trillion billion people. What about, yeah, if the 3 George Dam break death count? If the 3 Georges Dam, most estimates put the anticipated death toll in the 50 million range. Some up to 100 million. So that's cool. Which dam? The 3 Georges? Jorges. The 3 Jorges Dam. It's in China. It's like the world's biggest dam. It's huge. Taiwan is thinking that, right? If Taiwan blew this dam, it would be a larger war crime than anything that has ever happened before. The destruction of this dam would be, in terms of death toll, comparable to 1,000 Hiroshimas. And for that reason, I think that Taiwan shouldn't blow this dam. I think it would be bad if they did that. Oh, 3 Gorges. Why did I keep reading George? Gorges? 3 Gorges Dam? Whatever. Apparently, it's been having some structural issues, like some bowing. I think this video exaggerates it a little bit for the thumbnail, but it'd be pretty bad if this broke, I think. I think it's kind of difficult to really get a perspective on how large this dam is, but, like, you can see the city over there. I mean, you can see these electrical transmission towers over here that are probably like 80 or 100 feet tall. I mean, it's so large. Capacity factor by energy source? What is this? What do we mean capacity factor? What does this mean? Why did you link? What does this mean? What is an energy capacity factor? Do we mean how much of the energy is preserved? Like how much of it is actually turned into a useful... Solar is so expensive, though? Solar's not expensive. Solar's really, really, really cheap right now. I keep seeing this graph. I wish I could find a pretty one that was a bit newer. Up to 2020. But yeah, the cost of solar photovoltaic panels has gone down significantly. Capacity factor is basically the ratio between energy generation and energy actually produced. Yeah, I mean, it's okay if it's a little more inefficient if it's a renewable source, right? It's not like anything's being wasted, really. People don't consider we want to have coal and oil reserves for emergencies like natural disasters. Didn't Biden recently sell off a bunch of our oil reserve? Offshore wind is better, Vosh. Now, offshore wind is crazy expensive. Offshore wind is really, really, really expensive. I don't know if that's necessarily the direction we want to go. But it pays off? Maybe. Offshore wind efficiency. How about offshore wind cost? I agree they look good. I mean, they're a vibe, you know? I'm here for a vibe. Yeah, they're pretty expensive. But any construction project that involves going out into the water and building out there is going to be expensive. Is it expensive because it's hard to set up? No, you're doing construction of, like, gigantic 200-foot tall turbines that have to be rooted in the water and kept solid and kept from eroding and blah, blah. Like, it's a whole thing, you know? Why did nuclear's price increase? A number of factors. What about in the Great Lakes? They're pretty shallow. I just don't like wind energy that much, to be honest. It takes up a lot. It's very space inefficient. You know, I don't know if I care for it. Aren't the minerals needed for solar mined by slaves? I'm sure we can get non-slave versions of those minerals if necessary. Should people be required to have solar panels on their home? No. It's much cheaper now? Really?
On our oceans, there's wind freaking everywhere.
Bad first impression.
Really big deal.
The reason why is in these two maps. The first one, really strong offshore wind zones. The second, water depth in coastal regions. Put them together and you see a lot of the strong winds are blowing in coastal regions where the sea is deeper than 60.
It's just really difficult to do construction in the water. I mean, like, imagine if you were given like a 300-foot tall metal pole that weighs like 50 tons and told, okay, this has to stand perfectly straight and you have to bury it in the ground 50 feet down, like, you know.
meters.
The big problem is that bottom-fixed turbines get way too expensive when you build them in waters deeper than 60 meters. The construction costs
60 meters? That's nearly 200 feet. Jesus Christ. The engineering.
just explode.
In 2019, the International Energy Agency reckoned that these deep water sites could provide 333,838 terawatt-hours per year. 11
That's stupid. This is a stupid. I hate. This would, okay, this figure came if, like, we took literally all space on Earth that we could possibly build these and then built it everywhere. The production cost of getting this kind of energy would be $8 quintillion fucktillion dollars. This is just like this would be like saying, dude, solar is the solution because if we got all of the energy of the sun, we would have the power of the sun. It's like, okay.
1,838 terawatt-hours per year. 11 times the world's estimated total electricity needs in 2040.
That doesn't mean
And the
anything.
best performing wind park ever is a floating one, High Wind Scotland.
5 turbines generate enough power for around 34,000 homes. This park is producing 54% of the energy that is potentially available. For
Floating turbines sounds interesting. I don't know how well that would work, but it sounds interesting.
comparison, the global average capacity in 2018 was 33% for offshore wind turbines. In early 2023, there were 12 floating wind
What was
parks
that, like, the double?
for offshore wind turbines. In early 2023, there were
Look at that. Look at this guy. We already build offshore oil rigs. It's not that different. Yeah, the difference is that when you're building an offshore oil rig, you build the one rig that people are on basically permanently, and then you just get a ton of oil that gets shipped out. Like, that's very different than building a million floating wind turbines.
12 floating wind parks in the world. Combined capacity 199 megawatts, which is tiny. The biggest projects are being developed in the territorial waters of Europe, the US, and East Asia.
But like with every new shiny piece of technology, there are a few drawbacks. First, the costs.
Yeah.
Generating electricity with floating turbines cost almost twice as much as bottom-fixed structures in 2023. So despite higher efficiency, it's more expensive. The turbine and substructure account for 50%, and operating costs increase the further out you go.
If you try to concentrate that all and spread it over
Why would the floating ones be more expensive than the rooted ones? That's odd. Maybe there's less efficiency because they wobble on the water?
a small number of turbines, it really can appear quite expensive. But as soon as you start deploying more and more turbines, then you can really levelize out some of those costs. And for us, that is the biggest source of the near-term reduction that we see. The amount of engineering that we do for a 5-turbine project is almost exactly the same as the amount of engineering that we do for a 100-turbine project.
So by scaling, the production costs could decrease. There has been a similar development in the bottom-fixed offshore sector.
Another uncertainty.
I think I just have more faith in what I know about solar energy. I mean, I'm not like an expert, you know, I'm not like a huge partisan on this. I support all forms of clean energy development, but that's my feeling on the issue. Just the price has gone down so much. But photovoltaic panels can't be recycled? Huh? Can they not? I'm pretty sure they can, right? A photovoltaic panel is just, I mean, the materials are, I think the difficulty is that they're annoying to recycle because a lot like old computer parts, you know, even if the materials in them are useful, they're so thin that like stripping them down to recover the constituent parts is kind of a annoying waste. It's not unsolvable. What if we just went back, okay? What if we just went back to the original form of solar panel, okay? What if we returned to tradition with this? This is very like Grug renewable energy, okay? How will we produce the energy? We will use mirrors to redirect light to a center point and boil water like man is intended to do. Maybe this is what we actually need. How do you recycle this? Well, it's literally just mirrors, dog. No, this is literally the easiest way to do it. You just can only do it on a big station. You can't just connect it directly to a grid because you need water to be boiled and stuff. It's pretty cool looking too, you know? Like, oh, low-res image. Like, it's pretty dope looking. Like, look at that. Sorry, unlike Helios 1, you can't You can't actually use this for an orbital laser. Yeah, look, this is how man is meant to generate energy, okay? The sun bounces off of the heliostats into the absorber, and then it does the thing over here or whatever, and then there's some kind of radiator and a condenser, and then there's a chugga-chugga-choo-choo engine, and then it turns into power. Just like that. You idiot. This honestly seems like it's super low maintenance. Well, we can take a look right now. Hold on. This technology is not new. The Evanpah Solar Energy Facility is one of the largest solar thermal energy plants in the world. It is spread out over 14 square kilometers and can power 140,000 homes every year. That's pretty good, I feel? I feel like that's pretty good? Oh, fuck off. Really? From newscientist.com? It's higher maintenance than normal panels, so many moving parts. Yeah, it might be higher maintenance for the mechanical operation of the motors that move the mirrors around, but I feel like a lot of this, like, we're talking pretty easy to build and recycle, right? Like, the only tech that's happening on the ground here is you have motors that move the mirrors to reflect the sun, like there's a computer that determines the optimal angle. Unfortunately, the one in my hometown, Lancaster, closed because the mirrors were high maintenance. Really? Aw, man, I really want this to be it. At the plant's official unveiling, California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger praised the e-solar solution. Also, these make birds literally explode instantly. Oh yeah, if you were a bird and you flew in the path of this, you would simply instantly explode. The amount of invisible heat energy right around this area is obscene. Performance data from U.S. Treasury Department. This was approximately 12.6% of the expected power generation of the initial estimate. Yikes. 539 megawatt hours. Yeah. Shut down for commercial operation. Deemed too costly to operate except on the sunniest of days. Okay, photovoltaic it is. Thermal energy? Oh, this is just all thermal power. I'm talking about, as of 2019, the worldwide geothermal power capacity amounts to 15.4 gigawatts. That's not very much. I think we should do more of this because it's cool, is my main thing. There's a hole on fire in Turkmenistan. Geothermal is great for heating homes. Well, I mean, I think all energy is. Oh, apparently the United States is leading in this as well. Why are we so based, dude? It's like every single chart on Earth is the US is right up there, man. Hell yeah. Literally like the main character country.